My name is Keegan, aka Straw Dog. If you see me in chat, sometimes I'm the product manager for Outfox.
My name is Ben McCloskey. You'll see me in chat sometimes as Ben M. Outfox. It's very creative. And I am a developer over here. I've actually, at this point, I've now realized I've touched every level of this app.
Yes,
from
you
the core
have.
service to the UI to the backend. So.
And I'm Dana. I'm my handle on Twitch is Skeeve Twitch, and I am primarily in charge of making sure that we can take money properly. So I have worked on basically setting up the authentication, the provisioning, and the billing systems that evolve around Outfox.
And this is Mike Doug.
Mike Doug.
Mike Doug.
Well, what I do here in relation to Outfox is, CO-CTO along with Philip Moulter, who takes care of more of the operational side of things, is I work with the software development side of the house to help make sure we're architecting things well, we're thinking things through, really supporting these guys who are doing all the work, and sometimes crying to myself that I'm not out there doing some of the work, but
So for our Q&A portion, I have some questions from the community, and then a fun little exercise at the end of our Q&A here today. But we'll start off with some simple questions, but actually that maybe aren't as simple as they seem. But the first one is, how does Outfox work? Why doesn't my normal internet do this?
Believe it or not, your internet isn't that smart. It's classic routing and internet systems are really outdated, and they don't use a whole lot of intelligent measures to make sure that you're getting the best connection. And in reality, when you're relying on your ISP to connect to game servers, you're relying on Comcast, Frontier, with outdated systems trying to route your traffic in a way that might not be optimal. And sort of that's where we come in, really. We use a proxy network to connect to our tier 1 network. I kind of was saving this for later, but something that I wanted to touch on is that Golden Frog, has a lot of experience in tier 1 networking with the Viper VPN product. And then when we were looking at it early on, we were saying, like, we have this, super fast network where we control all the transit carriers, we own routing, and a lot of companies can go out and do optimized gaming networks. It's fairly simple to spin up AWS everywhere and create networks in sort of the cloud way. But Golden Frog with Viper VPN has a huge hardware presence, a global presence that gives us a great network that we can get gamers into, and then we can take that traffic and look at it specifically, and we look at each game's traffic and say, yeah, this game works for what we provide. This game is improved if we take that traffic locally and send it over our proxy network. And I've probably butchered a lot of this.
No,
the concept is pretty simple. It's on your local machine. We're looking and seeing that the specific traffic for each games that we've identified as supported games for Outfox, and then we run it against our logic to say, yeah, Outfox is going to improve. And that's one of the fundamental pillars that we started with Outfox, was that we don't want to get in people's way. Like, if we said that if we look at the traffic and if we look at our destination routes, we will proxy your traffic if our network is faster, and if it's not, then we'll use your standard connection. And so that's kind of one of the fundamental ideas that we had with Outfox, was the transparency. Of course, even on stream, you can see that sometimes Outfox isn't being used, or Outfox actually shows a negative performance. We want to be honest with our app, and that's something that in that space we hadn't seen a whole lot of, is the honesty factor with how we're improving. So there's no smoke and mirrors with Outfox compared to other products in this space. For all Outfox users and all connections that are started by using Outfox, we're seeing that 70% of the time Outfox is faster for gamers out there. And we had thousands of beta testers, so there was a lot of data going into that. So
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands, yeah. We've really dove into networking and did something called multi-ingress. It's not really transparent to users what that is. So we have a number of sites where we have multiple carriers in those sites. So your carrier is only going to ever use maybe one or two different transit carriers along the way, but we actually control the way that those are set up on our sites. And you have a whole route, you have a whole number of different options when you're using Outfox compared to using your standard ISP. and all those options just give you more opportunity to create a faster and more stable gaming connection.
Yeah, I certainly understand why people are skeptical, because at first glance, there's the, how is going out of the way getting me there faster? It's
Yeah,
like,
I figured I'd say for the fun part at the
We'll
end,
say-
the
yeah.
really easy explanation.
So another question from a user: why am I seeing an improvement during some matches and not in others?
Oh, I can definitely feel that.
Okay.
So what you'll see when you play certain games that have matches that can go to basically the internet to find a home. So let's take Rocket League, for example. Every time you start a game in Rocket League, you could be spawned in some server in a completely different place than your last game was. And what happens is we can make decisions on the fly when that game starts up that this particular connection can be improved. And then when that round of Rocket League ends and you start up another one, it might look and go, I can't make an improvement here. And so what we'll do is we'll just not give you an improvement for that particular connection. Now, not all games work like that, but the games that do, we can make some really interesting decisions to say, oh, for this particular game, I'm going to improve you as much as I can, and for the next one, I might not improve you, so I'm not going to try.
We had the idea that we're not going to get in people's way. We want to be very automatic, make it easy for gamers to get an edge up by having something that just automatically handles and makes the fastest connections possible. So some games are match based. Some games you'll jump in and Outfox will start. Some games you won't. And of course there's also some circumstances where the way that we capture games traffic. We're learning about how games use the internet at the same time as we're supporting them. So, for example, earlier today in the Battlefield stream, there were in the first match, Outfox was knocking it out, and in the second match, we saw Outfox kind of have some times where it wasn't improving the connection. I think there was a 5 to 7 millisecond ping discrepancy. The things that we're doing for that are per game investigations. We heavily have our QA teams and support teams looking into games and figuring out how we can better prune connections to create a more consistent experience. And we're also looking at how can we communicate information about your connection better in the application also. So adding in jitter statistics, the flux of your ping over time, which can have a big impact on some games, and then identifying packet loss. So there might be some scenarios where Outfox can't strictly increase latency, but it might improve some meta aspects of a connection that some gamers think about, some might not realize, but we are definitely looking at new ways to communicate connection improvement in the app as well.
A lot of these questions are fundamentally coming down to wanting to understand the problem that we're solving, and understand that first there is a problem.
There's a problem we can solve.
Yes, there's a problem, and B, that we can solve it, and kind of how do we solve it? Because when it comes back down to the network and how your standard internet routing protocols do not route your packets based off of the best latency path. They route using for today, I would say very archaic standards. There are some big networking names working on better routing protocols, but routing I call it archaic, but routing even with age-old 1994 BGP, for the size of the internet today, it is still a very robust protocol.
Yep.
And as robust as it is, there's a lot of overhead of routing the internet. So to go and demand that our routers do this type of work, you're talking about a lot more technology, a lot more processing power than most of our routers have today. But the key, really all these questions come down to fundamentally the way that the routing protocol on the internet works doesn't care about latency. It cares about unique entities that I'm going to route this packet through. Routing protocols don't even care about packet loss. Routing protocols do not respond to packet loss on a leg. There are other systems that go into place for companies who want to be dynamic about routing around packet loss and the like. Which is why sometimes when you're home and you're trying to play a game and you can't play at all, Well, it's because your ISP's got some type of packet loss situation between you and that game. That was an accident. You and that game.
It's server be specific.
And Outfox, and Outfox can definitely help with that. So that's what Outfox is really helping to do, is to say, there's not just one route across the internet, and in a lot of cases, your ISPs, there's not just one route out of your ISP either. There's typically many paths out of your ISP, and what Outfox does is Outfox, by having these proxy nodes around the globe, we're able to, from your desktop, say, hey, what if I try to route this traffic through all these different endpoints across the globe, which is more likely going to try and go out different, is going to end up going out different paths on your ISP, and our algorithms care about latency. And that's why it can improve it, and that's why it does improve it.
Yeah.
But it's not always going to. Like there will always be some percentage of the cases where, hey, you're using Google Fiber, they really highly optimize their network, and this game session here, you're fine. I'm not going to be able to improve you. But wait for tomorrow, and some network congestion or some type of latency issue going on outside of Google's control is going to be causing you problems. I play Star Wars: The Old Republic, and about a week or two ago, my wife and I were having a problem where, like, every 3 minutes, we get dropped from the game because on Google Fiber going to the game, about every 3 or 4 minutes, there's about 30 seconds of packet loss, just total packet loss. And then it'd come back, and then the packet loss, then it'd come back. It's like, I sure wish I could use me some Outfox on Star Wars.
I know,
Republic.
right?
It's almost as if your
Would have had a problem.
ISP doesn't care about your gaming.
I know.
Yeah. It's weird.
Not at all.
Yeah. Whereas Outfox does. We have a network that cares about your game.
Why doesn't Outfox work with all games?
Outfox technically can support all games, and we're getting there. Ish. Currently, we have a sort of a developmental constraint. We only proxy UDP traffic at this time, so some major games like TCP-based games like MMOs, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Mike Doug's favorite game, other sort of I think Path of Exile. I mean, there's a Minecraft, Hearthstone, some Blizzard games use TCP traffic, which we just can't. We are not currently capable of picking up that traffic, but in the future we will be. So that is one developmental constraint. The other is that we want Outfox to be the best for each game that we say that we support. There, you can go look at competitors in this space and see that they have a sheet of 100,000 games that they support, and in reality, those companies aren't doing due diligence to say, we tested this game, we went in and said that we think that we're good with this game, like we think that this product supports and improves these gaming connections. So that is one thing that we invest a lot of time in, and as a company of gamers, we want to make something that's for gamers. And so we have a roster of games right now that we're pretty comfortable with, and obviously we were comfortable enough to say this is our 1.0 with. But in the future, I mean, game support doesn't end, and honestly, one of the things that we're looking for, forward facing, is eventually custom game support, where we can give people the opportunity to use Outfox. But as a company, we can't say like we've gone in and tested this and says it's good. But just giving people more options through possible custom game support, and eventually, there's a lot that goes into that. So right now, we felt like it was a great user experience to have a select list of games that we supported, communicating that in the UI with the game icon, drawing that connection between what Outfox does to the game, and doing it that way is what we were comfortable with. And we see good results if we, when we expand and when we look at new games, obviously results it's results driven when we say, we support that game.
I mean, I think it's even important. I mean, a good highlight too is Counter-Strike Go. We out the gate, we originally said, hey, we support Counter-Strike Go, and then we started realizing a lot of issues that people were having, and we started testing and going, no, these are some real issues. And even though we might say we're improving it, they're just the way that Counter-Strike does its networking. It wasn't really honest, and in reality, it was probably really hurting a lot of game sessions. So, then and for the time being, until we're able to go in and change that reality, we pulled it from the supported list.
Yeah.
Because again, we want to be transparent, we want to be honest, and I don't want to have a game out there that I say I support, when in reality, yeah, it's got a number of issues that are going to be some technical hurdles for us to really support it and support it well. And one of our main pillars is that transparency and honesty.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, we've spent years building, VPN products where we take control of people's networking, and we have to be very sure to not, first sort of do no harm. Not saying we're doctors, but the first thing we have to do is make sure that we're not going to break your internet connection, right?
Right.
Then we need to see if we can improve it. And so, like Mike Todd was saying, certain games have different behaviors, and it's really important to us that we go through, test them, and make sure that, hey, we know when a session is supposed to start. Because different games, it's different. Sometimes it's when you open up the main menu. Sometimes it's when you start a multiplayer game. Sometimes it's on a per match basis.
Yeah.
It varies.
So
we want to make sure that all that behavior works the way we expect it to.
one interesting thing that I learned recently talking to Steve Hayden in systems engineering, in the first 5 minutes of playing Battlefield 1, there's a million logline file of connections that it's making. It's a million lines in the log file. So connecting to hundreds of IP addresses. So that's not even something that I think most users would expect. Like, it's not something that I ever really thought about, how many connections you're making when you're playing games. And so that's a facet of it, because we're learning about how games network as we're supporting them. So
And because of that, there is no magic way that we, running Outfox, can find a solution for every single game. So that's why we test each game individually. That's why we spend the time to profile it. That's why we look and go, well, it doesn't work for this game, but it does work for this game really well. And that's why you see, like, playing League of Legends, we got 70-80% improvement. That's great.
Yeah. And it's not. I mean, it's transparent. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a lie. It's all real fact.
And then Overwatch, we got a few percent here and there.
Yeah.
And it's just because there are some games that are coded incredibly differently, and they handle their networking incredibly differently.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
We
that's
spent a lot of money on that network.
Yeah.
They did.
Millions of dollars, Riot spent on their network, and we can still make it better.
On top of whatever they're doing.
Not to brag.
Not to brag,
Not to
but
brag.
hey, we're supposed to have super awesome internet in the office, and we can still make League better. So
Does Outfox hurt the performance of my PC?
the answer there is probably we hope not.
Yeah.
We do many hours of testing.
probably been thousands.
And
now.
thousands, yeah, certainly. Oh, I mean, we've been in beta for alpha to beta with a name change 9 months. So, with a user-facing product, and the goal of all of this is to be as easy to use and as not intrusive as possible. So, Outfox hurting the performance of your PC is something that we can totally aim against, and we haven't really seen too much of that impact. I think there are some circumstances where Outfox spawns a large number of connections, and it kind of might have an impact on your performance of your PC. Those reports are few and far between. They seem to be sort of transient here and there, and that kind of goes hand in hand with learning more about games and connections than it does the application itself. There's nothing in the application that is aggressively CPU, RAM intensive, nothing like that. Just learning and pruning connections is the only part of the application that would really have any impact on performance. And if it does, let us know. But we haven't really seen it. So.
And when it does, I mean, there definitely can be a point in time where it becomes an issue, and there are already thoughts in here of changes we would do in the way that we handle the packets that would move it to a better area to where it could be more efficient. But definitely at the levels that we've tested and what we've seen through all the gaming that we've done so far, there's not a significant amount of network traffic that is generated by these games that comes anywhere near to it being a problem. But definitely something that we will measure and monitor and watch, and do want to know of any reports of people, hey, when I do X, Y, Z, this happens.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you are running, we are doing a little extra work to try and sort out which connection is faster, but it should be on the order of like streaming music on your computer while you're playing a game. You know, you're going to be making a little bit extra networking traffic, a little bit extra CPU process, but I mean, if you're, you know, you should have a fairly powerful computer. It's kind of what we're assuming if you're going to be a gamer. Not everyone has that, I understand, and especially people who are looking for optimizations might be on a more budget PC. You know, says the person who hasn't upgraded his gaming PC in probably 3 years. So can I still call it a gaming PC anymore?
That's
Is
also
that-
why we try and make it
No.
as light as possible.
Right, exactly. So we try to make it lightweight. Yeah.
And the last of our serious questions, is there a free version of Outfox?
So you can currently sign up for a free trial. That trial lasts for 14 days, and then after that 14 days, if you've not decided to provide a credit card, the account will terminate.
You know, when after your trial, the application will continue to run. It won't proxy your connections, but it will continue to run and continue to show you what benefit you can have. So you don't have to go and pay us just to be able to evaluate. Hey, you know, I'm playing this new game. Is it going to help me? You know, you can actually run it in the expired state and still see the benefit that you can get.
Even if your trial passes up, and let's say a month from now we support a game that you want to check out, just by using the Outfox app, you can still see that. Even if you're out of trial in the application, you can still see the performance comparisons, whether or not Outfox would work better for you for that game or not. Yeah, but we wanted to make it. We want to offer Outfox different types of Outfox service to all types of users. We don't want to. I mean, that's really fundamental for us. So right now, it's no payment info required, 14-day free trial, all new signups, and we're definitely exploring some free level of service options for the future. Play time, get time, things of that nature. So.
We're to the fun part now, and so I thought it would be kind of cool. I'm sure everyone has seen those funny videos where celebrities read mean
This is
tweets.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Did
This
you
is
know
what
that
Jimmy-
we're on his show right now?
Oh, we're live on Jimmy
We're
Kimmel.
live,
Okay.
yeah.
I've always been told that I'm kind of like Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
especially
see
with the
it.
hat.
Yeah.
it
so-
just
Yeah, I can see
But
it.
this is other way around, right? So
Right.
we got mean comments. Mean.
So I thought, we had mentioned earlier that some people are skeptical, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So I thought I'd read some mean comments that we've seen about Outfox on various videos and online, and so that we can take a moment to actually address the concerns. So on to the mean comments. Let's start. So this is a comment from Peter that was on a YouTube video. Peter says, guys, don't use Outfox if you want to have good ping. Any software which says it makes ping lower is fake.
Well, first off, Peter, that's just
Yeah.
rude.
By definition.
Play League of Legends with Outfox. And
To be fair, it was a YouTube comment. Like, I think they're required to be rude.
Yeah.
It's true.
A little
There
bit of
have
that
been good ones
toxicity.
too, not to say that these are the only comments we've ever received.
We've had
We've
good
had
comments,
lots of
but-
good ones, but I kind of cherry.
But Peter chose the other route,
That-
and so he says, don't use a software, it won't give you better ping. A software might not give you better ping, but how about a tier 1 network? I mean,
Right.
this is not just a Windows application that just exists on your computer and doesn't interact or interface with any other pieces. This is a hook into the Outfox network. So,
Yeah, see,
That's
a good way of looking at
question
it.
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Question one.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Thanks, Peter.
Sub answer 2.
This is another one from Jay that says, blank, any program that optimizes any game. Learn your network and your computer and optimize it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, Jay, can you go and optimize your transit carriers and the way that your traffic specifically routes from one destination to another? So,
Or other people in your apartment building.
right.
Or
There,
you can't.
yeah, I won't discount entirely what he's saying. I mean, obviously, learning some things like QoS, like quality of service settings on your router, your local client machines, and what is happening on your machine that could be impacting your performance is important as well. But there's a whole host of things. It's called the cloud. It's called the internet that you don't have control over.
Right.
And you have to trust that your ISP is making the best decisions for you, which they are not, and we will. So.
Yeah.
For your speed specifically.
That's it's funny too, because if it says, optimize it yourself, one of the ways you can do that is by using Outfox.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Done.
Who knew? Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, so like an analogy I like to use is it's like saying, well, you could never get somewhere faster by going on roads with a lower speed limit. Like, well, we all know that's not true. Because
Yeah.
if everybody's on Mopac, you can't get, everyone's on the
I-
highway.
I know
Yeah.
that every day of my
Yeah, I
life.
take that.
In fact, Sunday likes to use the analogy of, it's kind of like Waze. Yeah, you can all jump on Mopac,
Reroute.
our highway here that goes through the west side of our town, to get from point A to point B. But in the middle of rush hour traffic, that might not be the best route. It might actually be better to go over to Lamar and go up Lamar to get to downtown, right? Which is kind of going out of your way, actually, to get downtown. But hey, there's less latency.
Well, one thing that
And there's one thing.
Outfox-
We're in Austin, Texas.
Traffic.
One thing that
So we use
Outfox-
traffic as an analogy all the time.
Yeah.
You guys don't know what traffic is.
One thing that Outfox does offer is more routes. It offers more pathways. It offers another road, or another dozen roads, or another 3 roads. So what you might have without it is completely different than if you add it in. Again, we might not improve your route, but we give you more options.
Yep.
And that's how we improve your game. is by
And
giving
we're
you more
building our
options.
own routes.
Yeah.
From node to node. So.
Yep. Again, more routes.
Yeah, exactly.
And our last mean comment is from Tara, who says, you can't get a better internet connection by routing your traffic through their proxy. It's like saying taking a flight from California to New York is faster if you make a pit stop in China first. Nonsense.
So yeah, what if there are no planes because they're all grounded? You can't take a flight there, so you
That's
have
right.
to go
What
through
if
China.
the regular route goes through China, and I can
Or-
get there by not going through
Yeah.
China?
Or the next flight isn't available for 12 hours.
Yeah, you're,
Yeah,
you're,
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
assuming that the
Yeah.
Yeah.
internet is doing the best
The,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, this is just, I mean, when you're routing traffic across the internet, Mike keeps bringing up, unique entities, so hops, routers. So whenever you're trace routing to destinations, you're seeing the number of routers, the number of hops that you're hitting along the way. Something like, this is just an example of numbers, just to kind of spell it out for math. A plus B equals C. Your traffic from your house through your ISP to the game server might be 10 hops. We might have a node or a site where we can get to the traffic or get to the game server in 3 hops, and you only have to take 4 hops to get to us. Across that's 7 hops. That's already less routing than
It's
you would
less
take.
routers you have to hit.
Yeah, well, and
It's
really,
faster.
and really, even that, the hops don't matter.
No, it's the number of hops don't
what,
matter.
Right.
What matter? I mean, the hops matter if you end up hitting routers that are loaded and are adding significant latency to your packet. What really matters is distance, because physics counts.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I
Photons only
think
move
we
so
had
fast.
I think we had
Photons only
we had a
move so
comment
fast.
in the chat about the physics of fiber and distance.
And really,
So
I kind of said it tongue in cheek, that it's somewhat ignorance. Is the real ignorance is the assumption that by default the internet is routed so that the shortest distance, the shortest time, is chosen for how you get your traffic there, and it's just not. And I think we can all agree that if anybody holds the assumption that our ISPs and the internet at large is always working to make sure that we can reach everything we want to reach, it's just a fallacy. Like, if anybody holds that true, I mean, I have Google Fiber, and like I said, a couple weeks ago I had that problem.
Yep.
I know networks. I'm doing trace routes. I'm seeing what's happening. I'm contacting Google, who I'm like, you know what? If this is Time Warner, I would just go, pshaw, I'll come back tomorrow. But it's Google. Maybe I'll give it a shot. I'll try talking to their support. And we just kind of went round and round and round until I finally was like, oh, no, never mind. I'll just wait till tomorrow. So even there, where I'm like, no,
I can't
it's right
I
here.
can't even play tonight.
It's right here. It's I know. Trust me. People are like, oh, we want to do a hard mode. I'm like, I can't. Sorry.
Can't read.
And I'm telling them exactly where. It's not even on their network. It's on one of their peer networks where it's dying over here. Like, all they got to do is reroute it out a different transit, and hey, I can get back up and running. You're in that support layer where they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you sound like hokey, so I'm not gonna escalate you up or whatnot. So, whereas with Outfox, we can route around that type of stuff because I'm gonna get out of Google's network this direction and that direction and that direction, and pretty much all the different routes I can, because we're going to such disparate global networks to us. to then get in and get our packets through.
We had one question from chat, an additional one that says, can Outfox be used like a regular VPN? E.g., can I use a signed.o VPN and use OVPN?
No.
Nope.
No.
No, Outfox does not use VPN protocols at all. We're essentially using some proxy protocols, and as we move forward, have some ideas of even getting rid of that and doing much more custom stuff. It's for us. It's all about the latency and everything I can do to reduce even application layer overhead of moving these packets around. I want to be able to do. So yeah, very much not a VPN.
Yeah.
And before we go, I thought it was really funny. Justice says, weekend starts, gets laptop to watch stream, thinks finally able to relax and not think, get stuff with connection info. Brain overload of information. Let's go back to games. How does that sound?
Yeah.
All right.